On behalf of the Touchdown Club of Richmond, everyone here at CBS 6 and our panel of voters from across Virginia, it's my pleasure to announce the 2023 Dudley Award winner is Jalen Green of James Madison.
These teams are about as close as they can get. You know the records. They're each 5-1 in the conference. But Arlene Casadonte has been digging deeper, and he found even more similarities between these two teams, didn't you, Lane?
Bob, if you take a deep dive into the statistics page on the Coastal Athletic Association website, you'll find that they keep track of all kinds of obscure things, kickoff coverage and fumble return yards. There are 72 different statistical categories that the CAA keeps track of with all of their teams. And in all of those categories, Richmond and Elon are either right next to each other or only have one team separating them in 37 of those categories, more than half. Things like passing efficiency, yards per carry, they each have 8 rushing touchdowns this year. And when two teams are so close as these two are, sometimes it comes down to turnovers and who takes advantage of them. Elon leads the CAA in turnover margin. The team right behind them, the Spiders. Bob and Chris. We focus a little bit too much on what teams don't have. What they do have is experience back where it counts in the trenches on the offensive and defensive line. 3 starters back on offense, as well as a 4th player who saw a lot of action last year and a transfer from James Madison, plus a couple of starters on the defensive line. Coaches will always tell you that's where games are won and lost. In the minor leagues last season, the pitch clock shortened each game by an average of almost a half hour, but some people inside baseball think that that misses the point. What they want to see the pitch clock do is shorten the time between the action that is on the field, better keeping the attention of the average fan. VCU is a perfect 6-0 when they reach the semifinals in the A-10 tournament, while the Billikens are trying to become the first program since 1997 to win both the men's and women's tournament titles in the same year. All 4 of these quarterfinalists ensure that the A-10 will have a different conference champion for the 12th consecutive year. From the A-10 tournament in Brooklyn, Lane Casadonte, CBS 6 Sports. Spiders senior forward Tyler Burton has 1 year of eligibility remaining. He was asked if he had made a decision on whether or not to come back to Richmond next year. He has not as of yet and said that decision will come in the future. Now on Thursday morning, VCU will get into this A-10 tournament in the quarterfinals, taking on a Davidson team that they have already beaten twice before this year. Head coach Mike Rose gave a bit of a preview for an opponent that his team knows all too well this year. These are the new grandstands that have been built for fans. The first day they will be allowed to watch practice is Thursday. 10,000 are expected for Saturday's practice, and you can expect new owner Josh Harris to be among them as often as possible. Wearing a fire suit and helmet and getting into these cars, which feels something like full contact twister. The car seats are as snug as any infant carrier you can find. The seat belts and Hans devices are the same worn by the professional drivers every week. There's no AC, no automatic transmission, and the only radio you'll hear is your spotter giving you pointers on how best to run around the track.
You could say this about any sport, but there's nothing that really translates to the conditions that you experience out on the track.
The Commanders had a couple extra days to either stew over last Thursday's loss to the Bears or get away from it all and come back with a clean slate. Head coach Ron Rivera has tried to simplify things around Commanders Park by posting instructions to just do your job. Today, the coordinator spoke to the media, and offensive boss Eric Bieniemy was very pointed with his opinion on the team's recent play, and he puts as much of the blame on himself as anyone.
Losing gets on my damn nerves. And I'm being serious. In order to appreciate winning, you have to despise losing. I despise it. So it's my job to make sure that we don't have to go through these emotions. And how do I conquer that? I got to make sure that I'm doing everything under the sun to making sure that we don't go through these experiences.
Again, see that game at 1 o'clock right here on CBS 6 this Sunday. Another handful of Thursday night games starts with Atlee, the Raiders hosting Armstrong. Ja'Kai Chavis on the very first offensive play, 55-yard touchdown run. Wildcats led 6-0. Atlee responds with a drive. Aiden Berry, 37-yard field goal. That cuts the lead in half to 6-3. Then Chavis again out of the Wildcat. Scores for the Wildcats. That made it 14-3. This was a back-and-forth affair, which Armstrong eventually outlasted the Raiders 30-26. They are now 5-2 on the season. Down at Monacan, the Chiefs hosting Richmond City School for the Arts, the former George Wythe. First quarter, Monacan's Sage Norrell, 23-yard touchdown run, breaking tackles right up the gut, and the Chiefs have a quick 7-0 lead. Later in the first, Jaden Stadler with a 9-yard touchdown run. Chiefs go for 2, do not get it, so their lead is 13-0. End of the first half. Turner Johnson, 24-yard touchdown pass to Tristan Hollins. Chiefs led 28-0 at the break, and they roll to a 42-0 victory tonight over the Bulldogs. Out to Amelia, where the Raiders hosted Cumberland tonight. First quarter, Todd Spurlock winds up, fires downfield 42 yards to Anthony Harris. Raiders led 7-0. Then Spurlock, a little bit shorter this time, but almost as high in the air. Tyler Davis with the juggling catch made it 14-0 Raiders. Second half, Cumberland starts to come back. Austin Wise with a 4-yard touchdown run made it 14-6. Then Deontay Barty with a 6-yard touchdown run. Get out of my way. Look at him shoving people down, getting into the end zone. That made it 14-12, but they fumble, and Paul Herman recovers the fumble, and they will not get him. 86 yards on the fumble return for the touchdown, and Amelia wins going away 30-12 tonight over the Dukes. The nomination portal is now open for the 3rd annual RVA Sports Awards. There are 8 different categories in which you can nominate your favorite coach, player, or team. Just log on to WTVR.com/RVA Sports Awards and fill out the nomination form. This portal is open through December 1st. Finalists in each category will be announced on December 15th. Sean Robertson and I will be right here 24 hours from now for Week 8 of Final Score Friday with all of your scores and highlights from around Central Virginia. Several different drivers either led or had very strong cars to challenge for the lead Sunday afternoon at Richmond Raceway. But one by one, each of them had mishaps and mistakes that took away their chances for winning. Even Larson had a run-in with Daniel Suarez during a pit stop midway through the event, but he was still standing at the end with the best car over the final laps of the race to win the Toyota Owners 400.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to always get a win early on. We've been close in a couple other races, and honestly, we've been super fast in every single race. So I knew the wins would come if we could just execute like we did today, and hopefully we can just continue to do that. We can win a lot more races. I was happy with the aero package. I felt like it was easier to pass, easier to stay close to people in front of you.
You know, we'd stayed definitely in the top 10 all day, around 5th to 7th, and a good restart at the end and grab 3rd. It was the main focus for us on the jockey Chevy was lap 200 to 400 today, and we made that better. It was a really good step.
We tried our best. It was a lot of fun, man. A crazy day. Just amazing how you just got to keep yourself in these races, and you never know what can happen.
Josh Berry's best career finish was one shy of making him the 3rd different first-time winner here at Richmond this weekend. This was the 1,200th top 5 finish for Rick Hendrick Racing, and it was the 6th different winner in the first 7 races this year. From Richmond Raceway, Lane Casadonte, CBS 6 Sports. The Above the Bar gym in Hanover recently sent 2 of its athletes to the U.S. Junior Nationals Gymnastics Championships. The gym's owner himself was once a young prodigy, traveling all over as part of his country's national team. Only his final trip away from home really was his final trip away from home.
Okay.
In an unassuming building, a few dozen vaults away from the Hanover airport,
You still on this, Cooper?
Viorel Popescu trains between 300 and 400 young gymnasts each year. They're not all Olympic caliber, but their interest in the sport does his heart good.
It is gratifying to see the fact that, there's a popularity in the sport itself. I didn't make it popular, I just made it interesting.
Popescu is from Brasov, Romania, a town about 60 miles north of the capital of Bucharest. His own future in gymnastics almost didn't happen. He followed his sister to a class one day, but the coaches had a strict policy.
Hey, are you a boy or a girl? And I said, I'm a boy. Says, This is just for girls here. So I remember running back to my mom out crying, they don't want me here.
A few months later, the local gym began allowing boys to train, and VRL outperformed them all.
There's never a point in my entire career as an athlete where I said, I want to quit, I want to stop. So there's no way that somebody pushed me into it. Anytime I fell and I made mistakes and I failed more than I succeeded, it was the next thing. I'm going to be better, I'm going to get up, and I'm going to beat everybody. That was my attitude.
VRL was good enough to make it onto the Romanian national team, and he competed all around Europe and even in the United States and Mexico. This was as his homeland was transitioning out of communism. But for some, including many of his coaches, old habits died very hard.
The same old people are the same coaches, the same old generations. I look at my parents, same mentality. They can't get away from the communism.
Attitudes towards the athletes were slow to change, especially when it came to injuries. VRL saw teammates with broken bones and torn ligaments denied medical attention and treatment.
All right, so that's a little bit sluggish on the heels.
The national team finally got a meeting with the Romanian Gymnastics Federation, where they thought their grievances would be at least heard, if not taken seriously.
The moment I tried to say something, personally, I was shut down. Don't say anything, you need to sit down.
That was enough to have him make plans to leave Romania for the only place he wanted to go. A warm-up event for the 1999 World Championships in the United States gave him the perfect opportunity to defect. When he came to the States, a stroke of fate tremendously helped his cause.
That my passport was stamped for 6 months, and everyone else that was on that line got 3 months. One of the immigration lawyers looked at my passport, is like, you're good, you got 6 months. I have time to work on that. You know, my friend in my body looked at us like, yours expires next week, there's hardly anything I can do.
VRL and a teammate made their way to Florida, where a Romanian housekeeper at an Orlando motel helped them avoid their former coaches and the FBI, all of whom were looking for the two runaways. That little taste of freedom in the Western world would help undo years of oppression of which they were not fully aware.
All my life I was told this is right and this is left, when in the real world it was completely opposite. And when you try to open their eyes, and this is communism. You can't think for yourself. They're gonna tell you what you're gonna wanna know, what you should know, what you should do, and how it is. The moment anybody's trying to get away from that, you're in jail. Your family will never see you again. And it's unfortunate. Our world still has that.
These days, VRL counts his blessings as often as he counts backflips and somersaults. Most of the young people he trains have no idea what their coach has been through.
It's not a story, it's not a TV, it's not a movie. This is reality. That is what it is. That is how I experience life.
He shares his journey for anyone interested and would go through it all over again if given the same decision. He has always believed a higher power has watched over him and has had this future in store for him.
You brought me here. I know that you did not bring me here to let me down. I know that there's something else more than this. When you get to that desperation point, will I do it again? Absolutely. Because I know that there's a God above, and I have no fear.
You may be wondering what led VRL to settle here in RVA. Well, that gymnastics meet from which he and his teammates defected was the Pontiac Team Championships, and it was held right here in Richmond at the old Coliseum. And this is some video that we shot back then of the setup for that event. With the help of some people he met during that meet, VRL eventually relocated back to the Richmond area, and his gym is celebrating their 10th anniversary this year. If you would like to nominate someone for us to profile, just email us at beyondtheroster@WTVR.com.